Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with our favourite football data expert, Gareth, to reflect on yet another victory. That is 12 home Premier League wins in a row. This time, Aston Villa 3, Luton 1. And as always, we've got some wonderful analysis from Gareth, which we will get into. But first of all, mate, how are you doing?
I'm doing
Another routine win.
yeah, really good. Yeah, really good. I think I was pretty confident. I know people might say Villa might do a Villa, but I think let's be honest, we were all fairly confident, weren't we? So yeah, good win, convincing.
Yeah, exactly. It was one of them when we reflected on myself and Sam in the match reaction, myself and Kev in the match preview, where it was one where you didn't want to be complacent, but you also are thinking like, with all due respect, Villa fifth in the table against Luton, newly promoted. Although I do think they're potentially one of the better equipped sides to stay up, it's a game that we should have been winning.
Yeah, I think the only concern for me was how good we were going to be at trying to sort of expose and beat a low block. Could we have the answers to sort of do that? Because I think that's the way Luton were always going to set. They always have a back three nowadays. And yeah, to do that sort of that 5-4-1, 5-3-2 shape, could we be good enough to break it down? And we were. We adapted well after the first sort of 15 minutes initially, but we adapted well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're going to get into all that because you've got some great analysis for us in terms of how we broke that down, little tweaks that Luton did as well to try and combat that. But first of all, we are motoring on towards 2,700 subscribers. So we are well on the road to 3K, which we really do want to get before Christmas. You guys are the ones that can help us get there, though. So please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and get you involved in the comments because that really does help us spread the word of the channel. And yeah, hit the notification bell. But make sure you like, subscribe, and really do support us because the support has been amazing so far. So Gareth, I will get into it straight away with regards to your fantastic analysis. So just while I get the screen up, looking at Villa shape and Luton, you've put two jobs brown. So what what were you noticing with regards to kind of both teams' shape here?
Yeah, straight from the kickoff, Luton sort of set up in a 5-3-2, and it was people would argue that it was a 5-4-1. We can split hairs about that, but initially they started off with just Nakamba, Barkley, and Ogbene, the three in midfield behind Brown and Morris, and it was Brown's job. This is why I say the two jobs. One of his jobs was to press Pau Torres and stay up there, and it became eventual that he was to drop back into that midfield four across there. We can see Morris as the centre forward. His job was to press Konsa. They didn't want to expose themselves. They didn't want to really leave space in between the lines, but they knew they had to press to some extent. And it started off as a 5-3-2. Within the first 12 minutes, I think my first screenshot was they'd changed it and Brown had dropped back here into that midfield four and not as part of really a two up top. So we could argue the case that was always the way from the kickoff, but I think it was more a three across midfield initially, but then they changed it.
Yeah, and then as you say, they made a tweak, as you say, to go into a 5-4-1 now. What was that? Was that necessarily to combat a certain way that Villa were playing, or did kind of Redwood spot something that we were doing?
No, as soon as they noticed that Kamara was making up this back three, and it was more Luca Digne was pushing on, as was Cash, they sort of tweaked it to know that they were going to need that extra man in midfield, especially with John McGinn coming inside as well. And they realised that they were going to be out sort of that box four that we talk about so much in midfield, which was kind of tweaked because Kamara wasn't part of that. It was more McGinn, Louise, Diaby, and Zaniolo in that box midfield. So they realised that they were sort of trying to sort of stop players from getting in between lines, but they also wanted their midfield to drop off or push on, depending on where we had the ball on the pitch.
Yeah, just a quick one. This is a really perfect still here that shows that box, and also shows how difficult it is for opposition teams to kind of combat Diaby and Zaniolo in this case, and also obviously to a certain extent Louise and McGinn, because obviously if Barkley and Nakamba go more towards McGinn and Louise, that leaves more space for Zaniolo and Diaby. If the defenders come in to press Diaby or Zaniolo, then that leaves space in behind for Ollie Watkins. So when we're controlling possession like this, it is really difficult for the opposition.
Yeah, it is. It doesn't really matter if we've seen other teams, whether you've got 4 across midfield or, you've just got the 4-2-3-1 and you've got your 3 sort of attacking midfielders dropping off into the wider areas to try and stem that flow. And I think this was key. This was why Emery went with that 3 with Kamara on the right-hand side, which we saw again against West Ham, if we remember right. It worked well then against sort of a bit of a lower block sort of thing. And I think that was the tweak that Luton had to make sort of thing.
Yeah, perfect stuff. Then we're looking at again, you're looking at this Kamara in, McGinn higher. Again, was that kind of to combat those little what people like to call half spaces? What was the thinking behind that?
Yeah, kind of that. We kind of used to see sort of McGinn and Zaniolo in these positions, don't we? But it was when Kamara came out in from this right-hand side, sort of dribbled the ball inside. McGinn was then able to push up from that previous slide that we saw higher up the pitch. So it just created that extra man. And they realised, Villa, once sort of Luton had got that 4 across midfield, we could afford to have that extra man be pushed higher.
Yeah. Again, it's just options, isn't it? So many options for the player on the ball. Just looking at this, obviously you can go more safe and go Konza or Torres. You can go into Luiz there, who can maybe play a first-time pass. You could go over the top to Digne, or you could go really intricate and try and find a McGinn or even a Watkins.
Exactly it. I can't say any more than that. Yeah, I mean, it's a case of sort of trying to move the ball across into and finding those spaces, whether you want to go wide, whether you want to go direct or over the top. And Matty Cash sort of didn't see a huge amount of the ball compared to others. That was always the option. We'll see different though in the second half.
Yeah. I think we're gonna come to that. Oh, sorry, we've got Pau and Digne combinations here. So what were you noticing here with regards to those 2 players in particular?
Yeah, the second highest combination on the passing combinations on the pitch, apart from Konsa and Pau, which I think was 58, and Pau Torres to Digne was actually 48 combinations. So you can sort of kind of see that was the route we wanted to go. Our favoured left-hand side, we might say. But the important thing here is that look at the width of the pitch. You've got both fullbacks high, occupying the defensive line of Luton. And this is vital if you're trying to... This is what Pau Torres needs. This is what we want to try and do with Pau Torres, is have the ball there, have the fullbacks high, and he's got options.
Yeah, and I mean, you've been really impressive, Luca Dean. I know over the since the start of the season, and this kind of link up is really good. Do you see that becoming even more potent with the return of Alex Moreno, or how do you see that? Obviously he's got that extra bit of pace, but notwithstanding the impact that Luca Dean's had, though.
Yeah, I think it depends what sort of style you want to do, because do you want a fullback that can cross as well, but likes to attack the box as well, which is Alex Moreno's forte. Luca Digne doesn't really do that. He's more a kind of a fullback that likes to stay wide and likes to be able to cross the ball. So it depends what you want.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Obviously, it's more options. You talked around kind of second half, things changing slightly. Leon Bailey came on for Zaniolo at half time. What was it that you spotted from that change?
Yeah, I don't think Zaniolo had a great first half, did he really? I think we can all sort of agree on that. Wasn't involved that much. And I think Emery really wanted a bit more width on that right-hand side. I think for some reason he saw something that made that was probably the way to go and stretch that pitch a little bit more. So compared to the first half, this is the change that I was talking about. We don't see Kamara out in that right space where Cash is. Cash is now the fullback who sits, because the width is now provided by Leon Bailey. Digne is still high on that left-hand side, but you've then got 2 players who can cross the ball really well in Bailey and Digne. But that changes. We got that extra sort of midfielder in Kamara. He replaces Cash on that back 3.
Yeah, and still that box there that we've got, and what they call the half spaces. And we've seen this in a lot of second halves, and I know we're going to come on to it a little bit more. But the Bailey and Diaby, that link up as well, like, it seems to be a real potent weapon at the minute.
Yeah, I think it was partly that, but I just think he wanted that more width on that right hand side. I think, and that was also to stop Doherty coming forward for Luton on that left hand side. He was a really, really good crosser of the ball, I have to say, and he's really good attacking fullback for Luton and wing back. Sorry, so I think they wanted to try and stem that as well. So I think it was a 2-part thing, but I think essentially they wanted to get Kamara and Luiz back together in the centre of the pitch. Boubacar Kamara, 69 passes completed. And I think that was what they really wanted to do. They wanted to get back to that sort of box shape that they're familiar with.
Yeah, and emphasising it here, the higher width featuring Leon. And what have you? I mean, he's had a lot of praise over the last few weeks. What have you noticed? You particularly with Leon Bailey. Have you noticed anything from an analyst perspective about what he's doing with his game?
I think they definitely see him as an impact player. I think they sort of more they're trying to sort of find their way with him a little bit, where he sort of does fit in and in what sort of game state can we bring him on? Is he a starter? Probably not now. Just about probably not. But is he an impact? To bring him on at halftime means they must sort of see something in him and the impact that he can have as that player when he comes on. But providing that width, and he's scoring goals, he's starting to find that little bit of form. So I'm still not 100% sure quite where he fits into it.
I mean, I must say I've been really, really impressed with him. From a personal perspective, I think he's got that. Whether it's that confidence, he seems like a confidence player, but that kind of impact that he's having at the moment. I think it's fantastic, and we all know that wingers can be temperamental. We all know that they need the ball to be able to have that impact. But at the moment, I don't think he can ask for much more than what he's doing. It's that one position on the pitch, though, isn't it? It's like Zaniolo or Bailey. Do you go with a start from Bailey and then bring Zaniolo on to shore it up, maybe keep the ball a little bit better, or do you start with a Zaniolo who's going to be a bit more kind of methodical with his play, and then bring the X factor of a Leon Bailey? It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, I think a lot of it depends on the width that you want on that right hand side. I don't think Matty Cash is so adept as a fullback as providing that width on that right hand side as opposed to what Luca Digne is. So I think Bailey, in that sense, he makes a lot of sense, because when Zaniolo's on, he's been told to be positioned in the half space, and so doesn't provide that much width. He's not a winger, we know that. Leon Bailey is suited to that, and I'm not knocking Leon at all. I think when he has come on, he has done really well. I think it just depends on what they want to do at certain times in the game for me.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Look, wonderful analysis. If you want more of this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, help us on the road to 3K. We're nearly at 2,700 already. The support over the last couple of weeks has been amazing. We seem to have waves where we get so many subscribers at certain points, and then we kind of drop off and then we go back again. So help keep that momentum going, guys, by liking and subscribing, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Moving on to our kind of usual slides, so our passing network. You touched on the fact of Pau and Digne and Konsa and Pau. What we were noticing again around these passing combinations, particularly with this game in mind.
Yeah, 99 passes completed for Ezri Konsa, 92 for Pau Torres, 87 for Douglas Luiz, and 69 for Kamara. This passing network shows that perfectly. You've just got all those combinations going between. Notice barely anything from Martinez into Torres. They're just trying. They had the freedom to conduct that across that back line as much as they wanted, and we're going to see. I've added in a couple more graphics that we'll see in a minute that provide sort of a context as to where those passes on the pitch were coming from and the expected threat of those passes. So quite a narrow shape here. We can see this is only from 1 to sort of the half time. So probably could have done a little bit more on that really, but there wasn't much change in the structure and everything else really.
Yeah. One little thing that I've noticed here, and you mentioned the timing, so it was one minute 1 to half time, but not many passes at all. Well, going back to Martinez, so in other games we've seen Martinez start off passing to Torres, passing to Konsa, etc. But obviously that indicates Martinez hardly having any touches of the ball. Is that, or
yeah, barely. I
yeah?
can't remember exactly how many passes he actually made 15 in total in the game. So 15.
Wow.
So that's all it was, and that's why the line is obviously so thin. But yeah, it was quite a strange sort of. You don't expect them to do that. They sort of build up from the back and sort of go from there. But it was more sort of straight into there. Let's get going. Let's move it across that back line and move Luton about a bit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you teased a couple of new slides, and we've got them here. So talk to us about this. So we've got home passing, expected threat, start zone, and then we've got the end zone. So what are we seeing from the start zone first of all?
Yeah, this is from another sort of repository that I've been using from a chap called Ben Griffiths, who's managed to sort of get some code out to do match reports. And I've been utilizing a lot of that and seeing what I can do with that. It's really, really helpful. And yeah, you can see here sort of we can, if we look at that sort of darker sort of patch to the right hand side of the center circle there, that is pretty much, we could probably say, where Ezri Konsa and Boubacar Kamara were operating from. And we can also see that a lot of passes sort of into that top half, that sort of Luca Digne high position on the left-hand side there. Now, although those passes we can't see necessarily from Pau Torres, that's where they ended up. So we can clearly see that Digne was crossing the ball, high quality crosses from that area, and that's why those darker patches are from. So a high level of expected threat was being created from those areas. So we could probably say Kamara, Konsa, and Luca Digne on there.
Brilliant. And then the end zone, lot of high concentration inside of the penalty area. Is that where I guess we're aiming for? Like, majority of chances are aimed for there. Majority of kind of threatening areas is aimed for inside of that penalty box.
Yeah, it's where those expected threat passes came from. It's where they ended up. Sorry, so we can
Yeah.
clearly see that most of them ended up in central. A lot of the time you're looking sort of darker areas outside the box. A lot of the time in a lot of teams you don't necessarily see a high concentration like that. So we can really see how those high quality expected threat passes were ending up in really good areas inside that box.
Yeah, really good, mate. Really good stuff there. And then in terms of the contribution for the expected threat passes, looking at backing up exactly what you're saying, Pau Torres, Luca Digne, and then obviously Diaby on that, in that right hand channel, the three main threatening players.
Yeah, that's what we sort of do, multiple visualizations to see if the data backs up one another of what we're seeing on different things. So yeah, exactly that. The Luca Digne, Pau Torres, Diaby we're used to seeing now in those positions, dropping a little bit off. He's becoming part of that box midfield almost, but a weirder box midfield, but he's becoming part of that. And yeah, Boubacar Kamara and Douglas Luiz again sort of all up there. But the Digne and the Pau Torres thing backs up not only the passing, but the combinations that we talked about and the areas on the pitch that we saw.
Fantastic. And then looking at kind of the XG, anything that's particularly telling us, I guess backing up that end zone for the expected threat. If you're looking at the big chances that we created, and I guess against a team like Luton, it's really encouraging to see those chances occurring inside the box, because they would have wanted to keep us as far away from the box, or to not get in behind them as regularly as we ended up getting.
No, exactly that. Oh, first thing I should say is the own goals are obviously not plotted. That's why we see the two goals
Yeah.
up the top there. But yeah, you're exactly right on what you said about the expected threat. Look at where those shots are coming from. So we know the ball ended up there quite a lot of times. So shots were being taken and everything else from those areas. So yeah, backs it up exactly that. And it's really interesting that 3 big saves there from Kaminsky, we can probably say.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because the two goals are like quite small in terms of their
Yeah.
XG, and then the two chances there are like, yeah, you would have expected goals from those.
Yeah.
Um, and the timeline, look, is there anything that's telling us other than total domination?
No, yeah, early first half chances, a lot of chances created in the first half, as we can see, let off a little bit in the second half, but we still scored the goal sort of just after half time. And yeah, nothing to really say about it. Luton created very little, as we can see, 60 minutes was their first sort of effort on goal, or shot, sorry, shall I say. So yeah, really sort of kicked on really sort of early on in the first half, really sort of tried to make an impact in the first half.
Yeah, brilliant stuff, mate. Just a quick question for you. How impressed would Unai be with regards to the goals spread across the team? Is that something that he will pay much attention to? Is that something that, as an analyst, or as a team, that people are that managers are really happy with, where goals are kind of coming from all areas?
Yeah, 100%. You want goals across your team, don't you, as best as you can? You want your centre forwards to be getting sort of the majority of them, but I don't suppose you really care where they come from. But I think a lot of it is more, are we creating high quality chances, and then are we putting them away? It doesn't really matter
Mm.
who's scoring them. It's about creating those chances from different areas. So we saw a lot of some set pieces, for example. Can we score more goals from set pieces? Things like that. Where are we not creating chances from, and can we improve that?
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, look, I don't think as a Villa fan we can be anything other than absolutely buzzing with where we are at the moment, 2.2 points from 2.2 points per game from 10 games. 12 home wins in a row, as I've said, in the Premier League. Just absolute amazing. And moving into a couple of games now, I'm sure Forest away is going to be a tough game. It's a good atmosphere there, but it's certainly a game that we should be looking to get something out of. And then Fulham at home, another one. So we could be in a really good position going into the international break, Gareth.
Yeah, I think so. I think Forest will be sort of a more of an aerial threat, if we like. So I think sort of whether Diego Carlos may come in for that at some, you don't know. Will we still have the majority of the ball? Yes, you would imagine so. So it depends. He's got a bit of a quandary there between sort of Pau Torres and bringing Diego Carlos in, or maybe doing something a bit different with the back four, leaving Cash out, bringing Carlos in. So it might be a bit different for that. Fulham is more of a sort of an easier game to predict, if you like, sort of thing. I think we're sort of quite suited to that at home, especially. But the Forest game, yeah, could be a bit of a slippery one.
Yeah. Well, we will be back to mull over all of the talking points from that game in Talking Tactics. Once again, phenomenal analysis from you, Gareth. Where can people find you to ask you any questions and to give constructive comments, as we always like?
Yeah, you can find me at that Garate AJC.
Fantastic, mate. Well, guys, thank you all for watching. As I said before, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, get involved in the chat, in the comments. I do like and respond to all of them. So do please get involved in the show with your comments. Help us on the road to 3K. Thank you all for watching, and as always, remember, we'll follow the Villa. Thanks, everyone.